You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. How are you, my loves? Welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. So, before we get into today's episode, I invite you to book a sales call with me for 6 months of one-to-one coaching. The transformation my clients undergo in this program is honestly just unbelievable. They literally quantum leap from feeling fearful, avoidant, unconscious to their own limitations and beliefs, even if they think they have a handle on their thoughts, to completely changing their self-talk, selling so confidently, showing up so confidently, making more money than ever before, and finally feeling worthy and good enough. Okay, so if you want to work with me in one-to-one coaching, the investment is $8,000 pay in full, and there is a monthly payment plan option. Okay, so book a sales call at the link in my show notes. We can connect and see if we are a good fit. And today we're talking about a concept that I coined the other day on my Instagram stories, and I can't even remember what I was talking about, but I said something like productive delusions and instantly knew that that was the perfect way to describe the reason why, and so many others who have the success that I do, get what we want: productive delusion. It essentially speaks to the act of allowing yourself to believe something will come true with absolutely no evidence to support it, like Santa Claus, which you guys heard me talk about that on the podcast before, about how like believing in yourself as a coach, believing in your services, is like believing in Santa Claus, like believing that you're going to get results and get clients is like believing in Santa Claus. You have to believe before it comes, you know what I mean? So think about it. We are told from birth to be realistic. Don't be delusional. Ground yourself in reality. Be real with yourself and more. And then we come into this world, the online world, where manifesting is a thing people are talking about. We also show up on social media. We speak into the abyss, and clients can come from anywhere at any time. And that is fucking terrifying to your brain. The brain absolutely abhors uncertainty. It hates it. It hates it so bad. And this is a double whammy if you're an anxious person. So you'll constantly be in a state of worrying if and when things are going to happen for you inside of your business. And this is why a little bit of delusion is necessary. Yes, necessary. It doesn't hurt anyone for you to believe in yourself and your potential and the potential of your business without seeing any results yet. Being delusional means being separated from reality. But as Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about in his research of the brain, we are always creating our future from the present moment. And most people just continue to repeat patterns from their past. And that means patterns of thought and patterns of behavior, patterns of feeling. So while yes, it is true right now that there is a microphone in front of me and I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, I don't own a mansion at this point in time. It is not productive for me to be grounded in reality if I am trying to create something different in my future. So if I were to tell myself, because I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, I will never be able to live in a mansion, how is that going to help me actually achieve the goal of living in a mansion, right? This is only an example. Because I actually think, being somebody with ADHD, I actually don't desire to have a humongous house because convenience to me is so important. Like, I love being able to get from the kitchen to my bedroom, because we have snacks in bed all the time. And sometimes if the house is too big, you gotta like leave things where they are and everything's a pain in the ass. So I don't think I actually want to live in a mansion, but you get my drift, okay? I can still pay for the convenience of a lot of things in a house that I am building, which is our goal. We have a goal to build a house, and I'm going to build it exactly the way that I want it to. But if I told myself, well, with the current student debt that I have and with what the results are here in terms of the housing market, I just don't think it's going to happen. But how would that help me, right? So keep in mind, though, productive delusion doesn't void us from responsibility. You still have to experience the ramifications of your reality, like going to work, paying your bills, etc. Early in 2020, I was actually at a gas station and all my cards declined at the gas pump, and it was so disheartening. And I really had a hard time believing that my business was going to take off, because that was like, I think I had hit about 12,000 in total, like all-time sales in the beginning of 2020. And I went on to make $130,000 in 2020, which is crazy. I could have never imagined that in a million years in the beginning of the year in 2020, but I did, right? I did create it, and it was because of productive delusion. So while yes, that was my reality at the point in time, and I had to deal with that reality of literally not being able to put gas in my car, it didn't hurt me or anybody else to engage in productive delusion and believe that one day I would have $0 in debt and an overflowing checking account. And then from that place, I continued to do the things that have led me to that place, from the idea that it was going to happen one day, right? So I think productive delusion is also just engaging in the law of assumption, which is when you think and act as if your manifestation is happening without a doubt. So you believe it, feel the feels once, and then you let it go. So literally detaching from it because you're just so certain it's going to happen that you don't need to check on it or visualize a ton of times or do any of that. You're just certain it's going to happen, and you are taking the inspired action. So the reason why some of y'all don't want to engage in productive delusion is because you don't want to be disappointed if you don't create what you want, or you don't genuinely believe that you can have it. But you need to know this: you are worthy because you are. The universe does not punish or reward you for anything. You are worthy right now as you are. You don't need to be a good girl. You don't need to do the right things. You don't need to mince words when you ask for what you want in your future, self-scripting and stuff like that. Your fear about things not happening for you are coming from you feeling unworthy, undeserving, and not enough to have it. But this is all the belief work that we talk about on this podcast and in my programs, right? Your work is always to do the inner work so you do believe it, because the fact of the matter is this: you are worthy. You are good enough. You can make things happen for you no matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done. As long as you love me. Oh my God, that was so bad. But you get my gist. You're catching my drift, right? You are good enough, and you can make things happen for you, and you can have the life of your dreams. The only thing stopping you is your belief that you can't. And as long as you work on your belief, it will happen. So engaging in productive delusion for me is more like an awareness and an embodiment than an actual practice. Like, yes, I sit down and journal out what I want to create and do my manifesting practices, but I also just notice when something in my reality is so real and not where I want to be in that moment. And then I allow myself to feel the way I'd feel if right this second I did have and feel what I wanted. Or how would I act, feel, or think if I was certain it was coming and in my future timeline? Productive delusion is the idea that no matter what is happening in your 3D reality, no matter how dire or shitty your circumstances seem to be, your inner compass is pointing north towards the direction of things being exactly the way you want them to be. So you are consistently believing, even if everything around you doesn't make sense, you are consistently believing that it is going to happen. Again, it does sound delusional, but it's not hurting anybody. It's not hurting you to just have these thoughts and think in this way so you can feel good and feel okay in the moment, even if external things aren't exactly how you want them to be. And lastly, you don't need to tell people who are hell-bent on living their reality, like really living in their reality, that you are engaging in productive delusion. I remember coming home from Pays to Be Brave, and my dad picked me up from the airport. It was in October 2019. And you just get on a fucking high when you're at an event. I am actually going to my coach's event in Raleigh, North Carolina, in October of this year, and I'm really, really excited because I'm going to be around all my girls in the mastermind that I'm in, and we're going to just spend the weekend like doing business stuff, and I'm going to meet a bunch of people who do the same thing as me, and I'm just really, really excited to be in that energy because it just raises your vibration so much. Being in groups like is honestly life-changing when you are an entrepreneur. It really is. Okay, so I was coming home from the event in 2019 and my dad picked me up from the airport, and I was just on such a high that I was saying like, I'm gonna leave my job. Like, I'm going to leave my job. And at that point, your girl had not made any money. I literally, like I said, I made $12,000 in 2019. And like, honestly, $5,000 of that was at the end of the year. So it was around November, December. So I had not made any money in my business, like barely any, right? And my dad was like, he shot it down so hard. He was like, no, like you shouldn't do that, like blah, blah, blah. Like I had no evidence that anything was going to work out. I was just on such a high and so rooted in my belief, you know what I mean? And I was working, I was showing up, doing everything as I am now. Consistency, people. And I remember feeling so discouraged and being like, fuck, I shouldn't have said anything. And instead, I just wish I kept my mouth shut and just let him think whatever and just sit in my own productive delusion, because people will live in their reality until they get a different perspective, a different experience for them, and a lot of the time that they are just speaking from their own fear, right? And you don't have to subscribe to that. And this is why, again, I can't stress to you enough the importance of being a part of a community of like-minded people, so your dreams, your desires, the things you are creating are normal to these people, so they don't create more unnecessary doubt or fear or disempowerment for you. So again, like I told you guys last episode, and in the beginning of this one, I think, did I talk about it? No, I didn't. But what I was talking about in the last episode was how I am bringing back the From Imposter to Empowered program, which is a 16-week container for you to be an expert at productive delusion, saying fuck you to old stories and past experiences and fears that are keeping you stuck in unworthy land and keeping you from selling and making the money that you want to make through your coaching business. So keep your eyes peeled for the wait list coming soon, and you can go over to Instagram at your coach Jill and follow me and stay up to date there because I'm updating all the time on my stories. And don't forget, for a more intimate experience, you can work with me in one-to-one coaching. The From Imposter to Empowered program is specifically for coaches, but even though I work with a lot of coaches in one-to-one, it is also the kind of container that if you are any type of online service provider, entrepreneur, we can work together. So book a sales call at the link in my show notes. And I love you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in my lifetime group coaching program, The Worthy Woman Method. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at Your Coach Jill so we can connect. See you next time.